Okay, my name is Ash, and I'm the managing director of Ivana Foundation. And today I'm here to talk to you about something very important. It affects everyone in crypto every day. Some would say that it drives people in crypto, and that would be coffee. That's going to sound a little bit weird to some people, but this whole story about data actually starts with coffee. So, a long time ago, this was me. I was doing an impact evaluation study trying to assess the impact of coffee purchasing in a coffee supply chain. This is me in Narillo on the borderline of Colombia and Ecuador. And I was there on behalf of Nespresso to try to work out how much Nespresso's purchasing of coffee had an impact on the people in that area. Now, uh, I would go from farm to farm and talk to people and try to get as much data as possible on everything about their life, how it had changed since they started selling coffee to Nespresso. And at the time, I was a researcher with the Harvard Belfer Center. And so we developed a very long methodology tool, which we implemented in these forums to ask people about how their lives had changed. And I was so excited. I was going to build my model to be able to calculate how much social impact each dollar spent had. And the data was terrible. So I came home every night, I would crunch the data, and it would be very, very bad data. And so it was at this moment that I thought to myself, there has to be a better way to catch the data about humans, about how people's lives has changed, and about how they interact with each other in their day-to-day lives. So I was sitting at the dinner table with my host, Mark, and she was sitting there scrolling on her phone on Facebook. And I was like, Liz, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I'm I'm telling all my friends about my day. I'm telling all my friends about the things that I did today. I'm posting about my kids on socials. And I said, can I please take a look at your phone? And I realized that all of the data that I was trying to gather, it was on Facebook. It was on this woman's Facebook. So I totally changed the methodology of the study. And instead of asking people questions like, what was your yield 5 years ago? Or what did you spend your grocery money on 5 years ago? I went from farm to farm and I just asked people, can I please see your Facebook? And it really got me thinking. Well, first of all, after that, I was very happy because the data was very good. The data was fantastic because I learned about these people's lives in the form of Facebook. And they got me thinking, we put so much of ourselves into the digital world. If we want to sketch out who we are, all we would need to do is look at our phones. The average American uses about 220 applications regularly each week. 220 different data sets that you are creating based on who you are and what you do. Multiply that by every single person in the world, and you could have a data set that could find out what are the drivers of mental health, maybe a data set that figures out what are the determinants of economic progress. This is an immensely valuable and powerful data set that doesn't sit in the hands of individuals. And it got me really thinking about the idea of, well, why not? Why is this data being used to create things like Facebook feed when it could be used to solve things like world hunger, to solve things like poverty? Why is this data being used to serve me clickbait content on TikTok, but not used to solve problems like mental health conditions? And it got me thinking, it's because we don't own it. It's because this data is locked up. We have a problem right now in the way AI is trained. We have hit a data war. If you look at the public data, and if you look at all the data that's gone into some of the foundational LLMs, this is just an example for this specific type of model. But you can see by this graph and this projection that we have hit that ceiling of how much public data there is to train AI. And that's made our data so valuable because our data isn't public. Our data lives in these platforms, and that's why they are so precious about this data. And they know that. Since 2021, the large platforms have been locking down access to their private datasets. Why? Because that's how they are making AI. That's how they're raking in billions of dollars of revenue off the back of the data that you and I are creating every single day. In 2021, Meta implemented access restrictions on APIs, all the way through to Twitter, Reddit, Strava, Meta, and OpenAI in 2025. Just today, OpenAI released a product that will read your personal data overnight and serve you content in the morning. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I find that incredibly creepy. I do not trust Sam Altman with my data, and I don't like the idea that while I'm sleeping, he's going to serve me some clickbait when I wake up in the next morning. But he's using that in order to farm more data from us. So what's the solution here? Well, the solution is actually each and every one of us in this room, because in 97% of countries in the world, every single person has the right to take their data back. We just haven't exercised that right. There are laws and protections in all of these countries that allow us to take our individual data back from these platforms. Now, we have a problem here because, yes, you can take the data back, but what do you do with it? Because my data is just one little data point. Facebook has billions of these data points. That's how they make the powerful data set or the signal. But what is beautiful about the world of Web3 is we now have a permissionless way to aggregate this data together so that we as a community can participate in these data economies in the same way that Facebook, that OpenAI, that all of these large companies do. And that is, Vana allows you to reclaim your data and put it in a secure ingress. Now, that's just a fancy term for a place where you think your data is safe. We support IPFS, Google Cloud, a range of storage solutions for you to put your data in. It stays there safe and protected, encrypted by your private keys, and it can only be used with your permission. And then what? Well, if you would like to participate in the data economy, you can then contribute that data to a data set that allows people to then bring that data value to life. In this trusted execution environment that we built in Varnam, you can aggregate your data permissionlessly without having to trust a third party to aggregate it for you. And then that creates this value, which is a data set. And this data set is a data set that rivals the one that Meta has, the one that rivals the one that OpenAI has, and the one that creates an alternative product in the market for Eagle's data. Once that data exists in there, people can query it. So people can use this data with your permission to be able to train AI models. This might sound like a fairly simple concept, but what it does is it creates a brand new economy for data, for your private data that allows you to participate. In the world that we live in today, you are totally frozen out of an entire economy that's making billions of dollars from your data. In the world that we imagine tomorrow, you are in that economy as an active player to a tokenized structure that allows your data to aggregate permissionless. Where are we at? We have over 30 data DAOs or data collectors on VAR covering everything from healthcare, robotics, personal social media data, all fields. We have over 1 million unique contributors to the network who've aggregated over 12 billion data points across the network. We have commercialized this data to the tune of $10 million and above to allow folks to access this data ethically with user consent to drive the creation of AI models that are by us and for us. I always conclude with this anecdote in relation to Vana. There was a time in our history when humans, everyday people, were not allowed access to property. There was a time when the idea of personal land, the idea that I would own my house, was completely foreign concept. And because of that, we created an institutional system that allowed maximum extraction from everyday people. When we created a system of land rights, we created a whole new legal and economic system that changed the world. And that system is called capitalism. We are on the cusp, we are on the precipice of another change as it relates to data. We are coming from a system where we do not own our data in a way that allows it to be valuable and useful in an economic setting. We need to create privilege, just like we did with land ownership, to allow us to participate in the new economic models that are non-extractive and that are for the people. That is VAR. My name is Art. I'm the co-founder. Please feel free to see me outside if you have any questions.